Welcome back to Queensland Property Intelligence. When people talk about Brisbane property right now, most of the attention goes to the inner suburbs, the one already pushing past the $1 million mark. But if you really want to understand where the market is going, you shouldn't focus on where what already is. You need to look at where people are moving next. And right now, a place like Logan Reserve is starting to shift right at the center of the shift. If you're still thinking of Logan Reserve as just a cheap outer suburb, you may be missing one of the last land expansion window in Brisbane's southern corridor. So why is Logan Reserve suddenly on everyone's radar? It comes down to what I call the middle range squeeze. Look at suburbs like Sunnybank, Rochedale, Vale, Roncon, or the surrounding areas. Prices there have already pushed well past what many young families can afford. For many buyers, the numbers simply don't work anymore. So what happened? They start moving future out. And here is the interesting part. Driving from Rochedale to Logan Reserve might only take just another 15 minutes. But the price difference can easily to $30,000, $50,000, and even much more than that. So, not just a discount, that's a shift in purchasing power. And when that immigration starts happening, entire corridors of a city can change very quickly. One thing I've noted recently while I'm working with buyers is actually quite interesting. Very few people start looking their riches thinking like, let's go buy in Logan area. Many buyers begin by looking at suburbs closer to Brisbane, like the CBD areas. Places like, again, Rochedale, Parkinson, Vale, Roncon, all the surrounding areas. But as they go through inspections and compare prices, they realize the budget doesn't stretch that far. So search gradually moves south. And eventually, many of them end up looking at Logan Reserve. So from a real market perspective, the demand here isn't purely speculative. It's largely price-driven migration from the middle range. Another common microconception is Logan is simply a commuter suburb. But if you look at the employment map, the picture is more interesting. The Logan Hospital expansion was over 1 million. It's currently underway. Around that medical prestige, you also have logistics hubs and industrial zones continually to grow. That means the local rental pool isn't just temporary workers. It also includes medical staffs, healthcare professionals, logistic managers, and service workers. Combined with vacancy rates often sitting below 1%, it creates something quite valuable, a stable rental ecosystem. In Queensland Property Intelligence term, we often call assets like this defensive growth property. Now, many people raise a fair concern. Logan Reserve still looks like it has a lot of land available. So doesn't that means oversupply? It is a very good question. But the reality is a bit more complex. On a map, you may see plenty of green spaces, but not all land is actually developable. Environmental restrictions, fragmented ownership, and infrastructure requirements all limited what can realistically be brought to market. At the same time, more than $1.2 billion in infrastructure investment is currently being directed towards this corridor. Road upgrades, transport improvements, and service infrastructures are essentially catching up with population growth. And historically, those infrastructure catch-up phases are often when property's value start being re-accessed. That said, Logan Reserve isn't a short-term spectacular market. It's much more a time for space trade. If someone simply buys the most standard product, like a 400 square meters box with 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, double garage, they may facing heavy competition when selling later. So when evaluating opportunities in the area like this, I usually focus on 3 things: land size, location within the estate, and proximity to future schools or community infrastructures. Because in the long run, property value tends to follow one simple rule: land scarcity. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, the logic behind Logan Reserve becomes clear. Brisbane's population is growing. Inner and middle suburbs are becoming increasingly expensive, and cities naturally expand outwards. Logan Reserve sits directly along that expansion path. So its worth isn't random, that growth isn't random. It's part of the broader structure shift in how the city is evolving. Again, at Queensland Property Intelligence, we don't spend much time looking at on the market brochures or this and that. Instead, we focus on 2 things: development approvals and infrastructure timelines, because those signals often tells you more about the future than market headlines do. This is Tony Wang. Outside of running this channel, I'm working in Brisbane property markets every single day, speaking with all those buyers, sellers, developers, and builders. So sometimes the change happening in the market showed up long before they appear in the news. If you're also researching areas like Logan Reserve, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Because in property, what's actually happening on the ground is often very different from what people assume. This is Tony from Queensland Property Intelligence, and I will see you next time.